Part 118. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1171. The latest chapter of the Wanchai I created is updated the fastest. Yes, yes, yes. The driver quickly replied, and dared not say a word. Lin Yi focused on the private message, waiting for the other party to have other latest news. But in the next few minutes, no news came. Lin Yi's heart sank slightly. Did he open his eyes? At this time, in an independent courtyard on Quanzai Street. In the bedroom on the second floor, a young man about 20 years old was sitting in front of his bed with his eyes closed. He was trembling slightly, and a figure stood in front of him. This figure was wearing layers of robes that seemed to be made of leather. The robe was bloody, and there were traces of blood dripping on the ground, which looked so terrifying. This was the human skin grandmother, who came to this person silently. At this time, a slightly hoarse woman's voice came out of the human skin grandmother's mouth. "Kong Shunlin, why don't you speak when I call you for so long? Are you deaf? I'm calling you to eat. Why are you closing your eyes? Are you looking for a fight?" The sound of a string of gunshots kept ringing in Kong Shunlin's ears. Kong Shunlin could tell that it was his mother's voice, but he didn't dare to answer a word. Because this was definitely not his mother was still at work. His heart was pounding, and fear hit him incomparably. He didn't dare to move, and his whole body was shaking like a sieve. He could only endure the sound of mom in his ear. "Boss, when can you come? I'm really scared." At this time, his heart was screaming, and the sound in his ears made him dare not make any other movements. He didn't even dare to use his mobile phone to speak. He was very afraid that what he heard was the answer of the human skin grandma. The only thing he could do was to wait quietly, trying to delay for 30 minutes. According to the strange story, as long as you survive 30 minutes without looking at the face of the human skin grandma, you can successfully avoid its existence. The reason why he went to find Lin Yi was because he himself was not sure if he could delay for 30 minutes. He instinctively thought that the human skin grandmother was not a disaster that could be avoided so easily. Suddenly, there was a dead silence outside, and there was no sound. A thought came to Kong Shunlin's mind: is the time up, and has he left? Should I open my eyes and take a look? This thought came out of his mind like a cat that could no longer be locked up. He unconsciously wanted to open his eyes and take a look outside to see if there was any trace of the human skin grandmother. Then he was stunned for a moment, and then his face suddenly turned pale. He found that the thoughts in his mind kept emerging, and even he couldn't suppress them. He immediately became frightened. "This is not my idea. It's the human skin grandmother, it must be her, she is controlling my thoughts." Just as he was thinking about this sentence in his mind, another message burst out in his mind at the same time. "Open your eyes and take a look, open your eyes and take a look." His face was distorted with fear, and he couldn't believe that there was such a power. It can directly affect his thoughts and thinking. He even felt that his eyelids were a little out of his control, as if they wanted to open. He covered his eyes with both hands in fear. He closed his eyelids tightly, and his whole body was trembling with fear. At this moment, he felt a cold breath appear on his left side. A cold wind blew to his ears. An inexplicable coldness instantly made his brain seem to freeze. He trembled slightly, and his whole body became sore and weak. The hands covering his eyes slowly fell down under the soreness and weakness, and fell from his eyes. The roar of fear continued to sound in his heart. "No, no, I don't want to open my eyes, I don't want to see." He tried his best to control his hands desperately, and he even fell directly on the bed. His face was facing the quilt, and he used his head to press his palms tightly to prevent his hands from falling due to gravity. At this time, he used all his strength to let his head press his hands and cover his eyes. No matter what happened outside, he didn't move. At this time, the human skin grandmother seemed to have an angry look on her face, and her eyes stared fiercely at Kong Shunlin, who was facing the bed. It slowly stretched out its hand, grabbed the bed, and overturned it with great force. A terrifying voice that was not human sounded, "Look at me, look at me." Kong Shunlin rolled directly off the bed under this huge force. This caused his sore and weak body to lie on the ground. The sudden change made him stunned for a moment. His sore and weak body fell to the ground, and he dared not move, his face full of fear. How could this happen? The human skin grandmother is attacking me. How could this happen? Didn't you say that the human skin grandmother would not attack people who didn't see her? Kong Shunlin was even more terrified, and he struggled to stand up from the ground. The human skin grandmother on the side loosened her hands at this time. Boom! The lifted bed fell to the ground with a huge collision sound. Kong Shunlin was startled, and his body, which was about to get up, collapsed to the ground again in this shock. The extreme fear made him not know what to do. The only thing he could do was to close his eyes tightly. He knew that the human skin woman was waiting for him outside, and he would be dead as long as he opened his eyes. With the thought in his mind, he suddenly curled up, buried his head in his knees, hugged his knees with both hands, and curled himself up. He tried his best to protect his life. He was so scared that he didn't feel safe at all. The human skin woman walked in front of him fiercely, and the cold breath enveloped him, making him tremble all over. Suddenly, this cold breath disappeared, and his body also regained the feeling of strength, and the soreness was disappearing. There was a knock on the door outside. "Open the door, I'm here to save you. Are you still alive?" Hearing the sudden voice from outside the door, Kong Shunlin came back to his senses. "Boss? Is the boss here?" "Boss, I'm still alive, I'm still alive." As he said that, he suddenly stood up from the ground, closed his eyes, and relied on his familiarity with his home. He began to touch the furniture around him and walked towards the door. When he was about to open the door, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. "No, my house is a separate courtyard, and this is my bedroom. How did the boss get in?" "How did you get in?" Kong Shunlin suddenly asked. "I climbed over the wall because your door was closed. I can only climb over the wall. The house of everything I created." Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1172. Hearing this, Kong Shunlin felt relieved. "Open the door for me quickly, I came here to save you, don't waste time." Kong Shunlin put his hand on the door lock and opened the door. At this time, a voice slowly sounded. "Why are you still closing your eyes? I'm here, open your eyes." Hearing this, Kong Shunlin's face froze, and he felt a sense of disobedience. Ring, ring, ring. The phone suddenly vibrated, and Kong Shunlin's face suddenly showed fear. His phone rings once every day at 2 o'clock, because that is the time when his lunch break ends. Just now at 1:45, he received news about the human skin grandmother. That is to say, up to now, everything has only passed 15 minutes, and the human skin grandmother cannot disappear. So who is talking to him? Which big guy is not afraid of the human skin grandmother? Dare to open your eyes? In other words, the one who is talking to him is still the mysterious human skin grandmother. Thinking of this, his face turned pale, and he couldn't believe it, and the whole person froze. The only thing he was thankful for was, fortunately, I haven't opened my eyes yet. At this time, he had already opened the door, and the human skin grandma was standing in front of him. Lin Yi's voice came from its mouth. It seems that it can simulate all sounds, and even all the information known by the target person will be known by this human skin grandma. This bug-like mysterious ability is incredible. At this time, Kong Shunlin naturally didn't understand the key. He was in a mess, and he didn't understand why this human skin grandma was so scary. He always knew his psychology, gave him hope, and finally gave him despair. There are still 15 minutes, I can hold on for another 15 minutes. Although Kong Shunlin was confused, he knew what to do next. He suddenly squatted on the ground, hugged his knees with both hands, buried his head in them, and completely hid his eyes. Seeing Kong Shunlin's behavior, the human skin grandma's face, which had originally had a weird smile, became gloomy again. A face became twisted and angry, and it still did not attack Kong Shunlin, as if it strictly abided by some rules. At this time, in front of the gate of number 17 Quanzai Street, a person had appeared here. Lin Yi arrived here 5 minutes ago, and he has been observing what is happening. This house number is a single-family courtyard. It is incredible to have a single-family courtyard in Furong City. Either it is passed down from ancestors, or only the rich and powerful can afford it. Quanzai Street was originally a famous street left over from the feudal period. Now it has been developed into a tourist attraction. It can be said that every inch of land here is worth a lot of money. Number 17 Quanzai Street is located at the end of the street, and there are tall buildings outside. Lin Yi's eyes are shining with the light of the true destiny, and he is observing this house. At this time, his eyes have penetrated through the walls and saw a room. There is a curled up person squatting on the ground with a face full of fear, burying his face in his knees. In front of this person stands a figure. In the eyes of the true destiny, the appearance of this human skin grandma is just her appearance. Its essence is a group of dark lines, which are very strange, twisted and chaotic. The lines were entangled layer by layer, a mess, and it was impossible to see through them completely. Lin Yi also found that these black lines were diffused from the air around. Finally, they were entangled together and became the appearance of this human skin woman. In other words, this thing is not a living organism, composed of the basic particles that make up everything in the world. It is an inexplicable phenomenon and thing. These lines extend from the air around, but the source gradually fades as it moves away from the human skin woman, until it disappears. Lin Yi frowned. There are about hundreds of lines connecting this human skin woman to the outside. His eyes were fixed on one of them, and the light of the true destiny solution was constantly flashing. He was tracking the source of this line. As he continued to observe the black line, some information gradually appeared in his mind. The human skin woman is so scary. How can there be such a thing in the world? It's really scary. Seeing this information, Lin Yi couldn't help but frown. What is this? Whose idea is this? Could it be that this human-skinned woman is formed by the ideas of countless people? Suddenly, he seemed to realize something. His eyes suddenly looked at the person squatting on the ground. There was also a black line looming on the person's body. This line seemed to be connected to the human-skinned woman in front of him. Seeing this, he thought, is it really something condensed by human ideas? He couldn't help but reveal a trace of inexplicable emotion in his eyes. This thing, it turned out to be man-made. Thinking of this, he shook his head and took a step forward. Under the power of the priceless true destiny, he went straight through the wall and entered the independent courtyard. He climbed the stairs in a few steps and came to the corridor on the second floor. At this time, Lin Yi closed his eyes and approached the human-skinned woman in front of him. His arrival seemed to stimulate the human-skinned woman. The human-skinned woman turned her head and looked at Lin Yi, and it didn't seem to recognize Lin Yi. It also didn't remember Lin Yi's existence, even though Lin Yi had been killed and skinned by it. There was only indifference and a twisted smile on its face. At this time, Lin Yi suddenly heard a voice, the voice of Kong Shunlin. "Hurry up and save me, I'm scared to death." Kong Shunlin, who was squatting on the ground, was stunned. What's going on? How can there be my voice? I didn't say anything. Then he immediately realized something. Boss, are you here? Don't believe the voice just now, I didn't say that, it was the human skin grandma. Lin Yi heard the voices of the two Kong Shunlins, so he naturally knew what was going on. "Don't worry, I know." The first one was said by the human-skinned woman, "Don't open your eyes." Kong Shunlin nodded quickly after hearing this, "Okay, I know." At this time, the human-skinned woman had come to Lin Yi, "Boss, I am the real one, he is fake, please save me." Ring, ring, ring. "Boss, the human-skinned woman is gone, my phone just vibrated, exactly 30 minutes have passed. We can open our eyes now." Lin Yi quietly faced the direction of the voice. The source of his true life had been activated silently, and gathered in his eyes. Hearing Kong Shunlin's voice, Lin Yi smiled faintly, and only heard him slowly say, "Can I open my eyes now?" "That's great." As if hearing Lin Yi's answer, the human-skinned woman stretched her face in front of him. Two dark eyes looked at Lin Yi's eyes, as if waiting for him to open his eyes. Lin Yi did not disappoint the human-skinned woman, and slowly opened his eyes. But under his eyelids, there were bright eyes like mirrors. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1173. In the reflection of the mirror in Lin Yi's eyes, the human skin granny saw its own eyes. The human skin granny seemed to be stunned at this moment, and its eyes saw its own face in Lin Yi's eyes. The whole person seemed to be caught in some kind of mechanical contradiction. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. Suddenly, his body began to twist violently, and her hands grabbed her head. The next moment, its hands pulled a piece of old human skin off its body. Then, the bloody human skin granny disappeared in the twisting. There was only a thick stack of human skin clothes left on the ground, which seemed to be from the dead. At this time, Lin Yi's eyes changed again. Under the power of the true source of life, it turned into his own eyes again. This is what he thought of, using the rules of the human skin granny itself to eliminate it. If others can't see the face of the human skin granny, can it see its own face? Now there is an answer. The human-skinned woman disappeared, and Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. A trace of thought appeared in his eyes. This time we can verify two conclusions. The phenomenon of strange talk may be destroyed by its own characteristics. The composition of the phenomenon of strange talk seems to be related to a large number of people who know about strange talk. At this moment, Lin Yi's pupils shrank slightly, and a strange light appeared in front of his eyes. This light cannot see the color, but it can make people realize that it is light. This light floats quietly in front of him, exactly where the human-skinned woman disappeared just now. Lin Yi was thinking in his heart, and directly stretched out his hand to grab this piece of light. As he touched this piece of light, it flowed directly into his heart like an invisible thing. Lin Yi could clearly see that a group of independent light appeared in his true destiny and heart. He could feel that this group of light seemed to have a mysterious power. This power is somewhat similar to the indescribable power displayed by the Gate of Truth, and also somewhat similar to the power of spiritual waves and true destiny. He suppressed the urge to explore this group of light in his heart. He looked at Kong Shunlin, who had been squatting on the ground and trembling. The human-skinned woman has been dealt with, but you should wait another 15 minutes before opening your eyes. After 30 minutes, everything will be completely safe. Then I'll leave first, bye. After that, Li Sunian left without looking back, and did not communicate much with Kong Shunlin. At this time, Kong Shunlin's heart was full of contradictions when he heard Lin Yi's words. He wanted to open his eyes, but he didn't dare. He was afraid that everything that had just happened was done by the human-skinned woman to shake him. He could only close his eyes and wait quietly, not daring to say much. At this time, Lin Yi had quickly left Quanzai Street. The mysterious light group that appeared after the elimination of the human-skinned woman gave him a premonition that this might allow him to get in touch with the deeper secrets of this world. Just less than 10 minutes after he left, a black van appeared in Quanzai Street. They directly blocked Kong Shunlin's house and rushed in quickly, led by Zhao Hongxia from the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau. All other combatants were fully armed and occupied the commanding heights and key positions around. Zhao Hongxia came to the second floor alone, wearing a special pair of glasses. These glasses are a camera device that transmits the contents of the camera directly into Zhao Hongxia's brain in the form of some kind of electric current information. This method is a special equipment that appears to avoid looking directly at the face of the human skin grandmother. Even if she is a God-given person, if she falls into the logical chain of strange events, she will die. Every time they target different strange events, they will first understand the information. Then they make high-tech products in a targeted manner to prevent themselves from falling into the logical chain of strange events. Through the mysterious glasses camera on her face, she saw the human skin clothes emitting a foul smell on the ground. And Kong Shunlin, who had been squatting in front of the gate. A trace of solemnity flashed through her heart. She looked left and right, but did not find the mysterious human skin grandmother. Thinking of this, she immediately picked up the intercom. The scene is safe, send the processing team up immediately. Soon, a group of people in biochemical suits had come up, and each of them lowered their heads and entered the passage. After they came up, they immediately started to divide the work. First, they carefully put the human skin clothes on the ground into a special box they carried. Kong Shunlin, who was squatting on the side, was lifted up by several people and directly put on handcuffs, leg cuffs, and restraints. Before Kong Shunlin had time to resist, he was tied up like a dumpling and couldn't move at all. Zhao Hongxia's face showed a trace of solemnity. Today's scene was completely different from the past. First of all, the hunted person was alive, and secondly, the human skin clothes that the human skin grandmother should have been wearing were left at the scene. What does this mean? She already had an idea in her mind. The human skin grandmother was solved. What happened? Thinking of this, she followed Kong Shunlin with a gloomy face and left here. Next, she would interrogate him as soon as possible. As for the scene, it would be solved by others. In an independent interrogation room, Zhao Hongxia had already appeared in front of Kong Shunlin. Behind a wall of the interrogation room, Supervisor Bai, Colonel Tai, and Director Zhang all appeared here. They all looked at the scene in front of them cautiously. At this time, Zhao Hongxia was interrogating Kong Shunlin. "Hello, Kong Shunlin. Let me introduce myself first. I am Zhao Hongxia, and I belong to a special department. I arrested you to understand the incident of the human skin grandmother. What happened at the scene? Please answer truthfully. If you hide anything, I can't guarantee that you can get out alive." Kong Shunlin was so scared at this time that he trembled at Zhao Hongxia's cold face. As an ordinary person, how could he bear such pressure? He directly told everything he had encountered without hiding anything. Zhao Hongxia frowned slightly when she heard what he said. "You said you only heard these conversations throughout the whole process, but you are not sure whether they really happened." "Yes, I am absolutely not lying. You said that you asked for help from the person who posted on the forum, and the other party promised to come and save you." "Yes, but I don't know whether he showed up later. I only heard his voice. But I still have records of my conversations with that person on my phone, and even voice messages. You can check if you don't believe me." Zhao Hongxia was thoughtful when she heard this. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and she said slowly, "Okay, I believe what you said." After that, she turned around and left here. Kong Shunlin on the side exclaimed, "What should I do? Let me go." Zhao Hongxia did not pay attention to Kong Shunlin's shouting, but opened the door and left directly. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1174. After more than 10 seconds, she came to the room next to the interrogation room. Manager Bai and the other two were waiting here, and they looked at Zhao Hongxia who came in. Manager Bai said solemnly, "What do you think?" Zhao Hongxia's eyes showed a hint of sharpness. "We must find this mysterious man. He can actually eliminate the human skin grandmother, there must be a reason. The biggest possibility is that he has mastered the logical chain of the human skin grandmother and solved the factors that formed the human skin grandmother from the root. But fortunately, he left traces on the internet. It is not difficult to find him. The staff of the technical department should have been doing it." Manager Bai nodded. "This matter must be investigated carefully. You can mobilize all the resources in Furong City." Zhao Hongxia heard this and nodded seriously. "Yes, Manager Bai." This time, Colonel Tai and Director Zhang did not speak. The information revealed by Kong Shunlin's words also surprised them, and they were very much looking forward to finding this mysterious man. At this time, Lin Yi had returned to his presidential suite, sitting cross-legged on the bed, and his entire consciousness was immersed in his mind. He was watching this mysterious light in his mind. He manipulated the spiritual wave and slowly began to contact the mysterious light. Then, he was surprised to find that as he contacted the mysterious light, the spiritual wave seemed to absorb this ball of light. As a result of the absorption, his spiritual wave limit rose by January 10 in a short time. At the same time, this ball of light also consumed 1/3. He immediately stopped the contact with the spiritual wave, and a trace of joy rose in his heart. It's incredible that the spiritual wave limit can be raised. After stopping the spiritual wave to contact, he mobilized his mind to contact this ball of light. Then, he felt that his mind and this ball of light seemed to be perfectly and innocently integrated, and he seemed to be able to control this ball of light. With a slight movement in his heart, this ball of light swam freely in his mind and body. However, he soon discovered something. This ball of light could not break through the constraints of the body, and it seemed that there was some mysterious rule restricting it. Thinking in his heart, he manipulated this ball of light to touch other things in his mind. He wanted to see if this thing would cause changes in other things. First, he came into contact with the eternal nature. He controlled the ball of light and slowly entered the spiritual state of the house of everything. The light floated towards the place where the eternal nature was stored. Then, the light gently touched an eternal nature. He observed quietly, and he found that the ball of light diffused a ray of light and touched the eternal nature. Then, the eternal nature seemed to have an inexplicable change in his sense. This change made the eternal nature full of activity, and a wisp of thought quickly flowed into the eternal nature. Lin Yi immediately noticed that the eternal nature had reacted to his thoughts. Originally, after entering the gate of truth, all the eternal natures fell into a complete sleep, and almost did not react to his thoughts, just like dead things. But now with the integration of this mysterious light, these eternal properties have regained vitality. This scene gave him hope to rebuild the seventh true destiny. An eternal nature appeared in Lin Yi's mind, and the whole process consumed about 1/1000 of the remaining light ball. That is to say, this 2/3 of the remaining light ball can restore vitality to about 1000 eternal properties. Although it is just a drop in the ocean compared to the 500 billion eternal properties in my hand, at least there is a direction, which is enough. If the eternal properties can be revitalized, then the Wanchaiwa should also be able to restore its activity. Thinking of this, he was slightly excited. The Wanchaiwa was a home he had spent a lot of energy to run. He was naturally very happy to restore vitality to his home. Thinking of this, he immediately began to operate this ball of light to contact the Wanchaiwa. As the light ball and the Wanchaiwa came into contact, the Wanchaiwa was directly shrouded in a hazy light. The light ball shrank rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, about 2/3 of the remaining light balls were consumed, and the Wanchaiwa was connected to Lin Yi's thoughts again. At this time, the Wanchaiwa seemed to come alive again, and Lin Yi showed a trace of joy on his face. Thinking about it, Lin Yi had some ideas about the role of this ball of light. I wonder if it will also have an effect on the last will of those lives in the void. Thinking of this, his eyes fell on the shrine of wishes. A thought slowly floated out from it, enveloped by the light of the boundless true destiny and the constant true destiny. Then, he brought the remaining light closer to this thought. After the thought came into contact with the light, it quickly changed. Originally, it fell into a deep sleep in a dead silence, but suddenly it became agile. Then, this thought began to change rapidly as if it had taken a tonic. An illusory shadow appeared in the Wanchai Wu. This person was Brandy. He looked down at his hands and body, and said in disbelief, "Boss, am I resurrected?" Lin Yi looked at him and smiled slightly, "At least I'm not dead. Now I have found a way to resurrect you. But now it is your thoughts that are resurrected. As for the body, I'm afraid it will take some time. I need to study it." Brandy smiled when he heard this. "It's okay, I can wait." Lin Yi nodded, "You should stay in the Wanchai Wu first, you can't leave for the time being." He looked at the light ball, which had consumed 1/5 of the remaining amount again. Does that mean that 4 more people can be awakened? After thinking about it, he had made a decision in his heart. Sakuramiya Shirley, Lao Wei, Absinthe, and Vodka, the 4 of them will be the selected objects. As the last ball of light was exhausted, 5 figures appeared in the Wanchai Wu. Sakuramiya Swilly's beautiful face was full of melancholy. "I never thought that we could survive. Thank you so much, Lin Yi. Without you, we would probably have died. This is a deal, everyone just takes what they need. But now you can only live in the Eurozwia and can't leave. The outside world is completely different from where we were before. It's a place without supernatural powers. If you are reborn there, it may not be a good thing. You may die after 100 years. So, before I completely figure out the outside world, you'd better stay in the Eurozwia. But I will think of other ways to let you move freely outside. But for the time being, you have to stay here. You don't need to eat or drink, your lifespan will not disappear, and most importantly, there is no danger. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1175. The latest chapter of the Wanchai Wu I Created is updated the fastest. The Wanchai Wu now has only the main part restored to vitality, and the underground lifeland has not yet been restored. It is still in a dead silence, and everything cannot operate. If the lifeland can be revived in the future, your range of activities will be much larger. Sakuramiya Shirley nodded, "Don't worry, we understand, we won't mess with you." Absinthe on the side seemed to smile, lying on a sofa with his legs spread out, and murmured with emotion, "I didn't expect I could still be alive. It's really interesting, he. His face was slightly distorted, he seemed very happy, and seemed to be self-deprecating, and the whole person looked very strange. Obviously, the experience along the way has already brought him an indelible impact, such as the lack of resistance to the end of the world. Lao Wei sat on the sofa alone in silence. He was very happy that he could survive, but he still had to wait for his son to survive, but he still needed patience. As for Vodka, he stood respectfully aside. He will always be one of Lin Yi's most loyal guards. Seeing these familiar people waking up one after another, Lin Yi's slightly lonely mood also improved a lot. "I will come to see you when I have time, you can find something to do." Lin Yi left the spiritual level and returned to reality. All the mysterious brilliance he got this time has been completely digested. An eternal nature appeared in his mind. This eternal nature is also condensed by countless principles, self-circulating, and can produce wonderful power. This power has strong vitality and seems to nourish the body. A trace of spiritual waves was injected into the eternal nature, stimulating the eternal nature to start running, flowing out a trace of vitality. This power quickly flowed through his perfect body on earth. The vitality flowed out and quickly turned around in the body, but he was surprised to find something. This vitality has no effect, cannot strengthen his body, nor can it have any influence on his cell structure. It's like an illusory thing, it's not affected at all. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but frowned, and a trace of strangeness appeared in his eyes. That is to say, although the eternal nature has regained its activity, any of its abilities still cannot be used on the blue star. In this world, all eternal nature systems are still illusory and useless. Then the eternal nature has only one function for me, that is to build the seventh true destiny. If that's the case, the goal is very clear. Find more strange phenomena, find their essence, solve them, and finally produce mysterious brilliance, which will be absorbed and used to unlock the eternal nature. The road ahead is bright. Lin Yi quickly got motivated and knew what to do next. It was 7 o'clock in the evening. In a blink of an eye, Lin Yi left his room and began to wander on the street. He wanted to find a good restaurant and enjoy life. Life has a goal, and the next step is to do this thing slowly. He has countless time to spend slowly. Wandering around, Lin Yi saw a good Western restaurant and was about to go in when a car stopped next to him. It was a pink convertible super sports car, with a woman with a single ponytail sitting on it, wearing a black dress, looking very cool. Lin Yi looked at her, and a hint of understanding appeared in his eyes. It turned out to be the member of the mysterious organization that had captured him last time. Zhao Hongxia looked at Lin Yi on the street and smiled faintly. Let's find a place to chat, Mr. Lin. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes. He had expected the other party to come, but he didn't expect it to be so soon. Without hesitation, he sat directly on the co-pilot and drove away under the envious comments of a group of people around him. The pink supercar drove very fast and left the city in a short time and got on the highway. At this time, its speed was getting faster and faster, reaching 130 kilometers per hour directly. Lin Yi felt a huge speed. His face was very calm, without any expression of worry or fear. Zhao Hongxia's driving skills were very powerful. On this highway, no vehicle could stop her and would be surpassed in an instant. The speed continued to increase, even reaching 200 kilometers per hour, which scared other cars on the highway. About half an hour later, Zhao Hongxia drove the car and turned into a fork road. The road ahead became deeper and deeper, and soon came to a beautiful mountaintop. The road ended here. This is the end. After stopping the car, Zhao Hongxia pushed the door and walked down, and Lin Yi did the same. The two stood at the end of the road, with a cliff below. The mountain was not actually high, only 200 or 300 meters higher than the nearby plains. Looking far away from here, they can even see the towering Himalayas, with the top of the mountain covered with white ice and snow. Zhao Hongxia said, "You solved the human skin grandma, right? We have investigated everything, and the cause and effect have basically been speculated. You should have found a loophole in the rules of the human skin grandma to eliminate it. You are a God-giver, right? What force are you from?" Zhao Hongxia looked into the distance calmly, and asked in rapid succession with a hint of coldness in her voice. Lin Yi smiled and said, "You guessed right, it was me who killed the human skin grandma. But I am just a free man, not from any force. As for the God-given? Are you talking about the true destiny in your hands?" When Zhao Hongxia heard Lin Yi's words, her body was slightly shaken. "True destiny? Are you talking about my ability?" Lin Yi glanced at him. "Yes, the ability you master is called true destiny. Each true destiny is unique and has enormous potential. It can even ignore all rules and restrictions. It can be said that it is almost an unsolvable ability. The only one who can defeat true destiny is another true destiny." Zhao Hongxia chewed on the information revealed by Lin Yi, thought for a while and said, "You have a lot of information that we don't know." "Yes, I do know a lot of things you don't know. But you also have a lot of information that I don't know." Zhao Hengxia's heart moved when she heard it. So, do you want to trade with us? Lin Yi smiled and said, I am indeed interested in this, and we don't have any essential conflicts. Trading is not impossible. Zhao Hengxia sneered when she heard it, but there is one thing you have to understand, trading is only eligible for equal existence. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1176. The latest chapter of the Wanchai Wu I Created is updated the fastest. Even if you are a God-given, how many times can you use your power? Behind me is the whole world, what's behind you? As soon as the voice fell, countless gun barrels appeared on the hills, bushes, and woods behind the two people, and several drones appeared in the sky at some point. These drones hovered around, hanging exquisite small missiles on them. All weapons have locked Lin Yi, and he will face a catastrophe as long as he makes any move. Zhao Hengxia looked at Lin Yi calmly. Now you have three choices. First, tell all the information you know honestly. According to your answer, we will detain you or call you to peace. Second, resist by force and be killed on the spot by us. Third, show your confidence, the confidence to negotiate with us. Zhao Hengxia's expression was very calm, without any emotion. At this time, she was like a cold robot. Lin Yi looked at the countless guns aimed at him in the bushes and forests around him, as well as the drones above his head, and a faint smile appeared on his face. It's a very powerful lineup. If it were an ordinary person, even an ordinary God-given person, they would have to bow down to him. Their strength is not enough to deal with this level of force. But since you want to see it, I don't mind showing my own strength. Watch carefully, don't blink. The true destiny was activated in an instant, and the next moment, Lin Yi moved. In the state of life without boundaries, his speed can be infinitely improved. At the same time, with his perfect body and the latest martial arts system, his combat power can be instantly pulled to the limit of this world. He flashed in the air and came to the front of a drone, which was hundreds of meters away from him. But he came here directly as if he had no inertia and stopped in mid-air. Raising his hand and lightly tapping the drone, its own magnetic field has been generated. The magnetic field of the drone was affected in an instant, and the solid drone turned into powder in an instant. The next moment, Lin Yi appeared in front of another drone. Just a few flashes, the 5 drones in the sky have all disintegrated. When he appeared again, Lin Yi had disappeared in the sky and appeared in the woods. He walked among hundreds of fighters like a leisurely stroll. Every time he tapped his fingers, the weapons in their hands would shatter like sand. Some of these fighters had already reacted. Bang, bang, bang. The flames of the bullets fell accurately on Lin Yi. But these bullets passed through his body silently without leaving any traces. There was even a sniper rifle that shot through his head, but the bullet finally pierced deeply into the ground. Lin Yi was still unscathed, without any trace of being shot. Everything only took 20 seconds, and Zhao Hengxia just watched quietly and did nothing. But her heart was shaken violently, and the power that Lin Yi burst out was beyond her imagination. First, the ability to fly in the air, second, the ability to be like an illusion, and third, the ability to collapse various weapons with a single click. These 3 abilities, each of which has countless ways of use, and all 3 of them gathered in one person, are simply irresistible and powerful. In a short time, Lin Yi disarmed everyone. When he appeared in front of Zhao Hengxia again, it was exactly the 20th second. At this time, Zhao Hengxia looked at him with a calm face. It is indeed very powerful, but it is not enough just like this. Your ability is very powerful, but I don't believe you can always be so powerful without consumption. If I must kill you, I only need to use large-scale weapons, such as nuclear bombs, and you will never escape. Lin Yi looked at Zhao Hongxia and smiled faintly. In this case, I can only show my strength again. Look, I don't have anything in my hand now. As he said, Lin Yi turned his head and stepped towards the cliff. In the state of boundless destiny, he accelerated instantly. The perfect body and the burst of power increased his speed to the speed of sound in 1 second. In the second second, the speed increased to twice the speed of sound, and in the third second, it was 4 times the speed of sound. Every second, Lin Yi's speed would double directly. In just 7 or 8 seconds, Lin Yi completely disappeared from Zhao Hongxia's eyes. A few seconds later, a black dot came in front of Zhao Hongxia. At this time, Lin Yi was holding a popsicle in his hand, and he was tasting the taste of the popsicle. It tastes pretty good. I just got it from a supermarket in Furong City. Looking at the popsicle in Lin Yi's hand, Zhao Hongxia was extremely shocked this time. This is Fenghuang Mountain, 50 kilometers away from the border of Furong City. Even if it is a nuclear bomb, the core power coverage range is generally only 1 to 10 kilometers. The opponent can run 50 kilometers away in just a few seconds. What does this mean? She knows it too well. Nuclear bombs are not absolutely effective for the person in front of her. Nuclear bombs that fail to hit people will lose their original effect. Zhao Hongxia took a deep breath and looked at Lin Yi in front of her calmly. Very good, you are indeed very confident, you are qualified to negotiate a deal with us. How do you want to talk? Lin Yi smiled slightly. What I want is very simple. First, we can exchange information. I can provide some information I know about strange events and true fate. Secondly, we can make a deal. In the future, you can notify me when you find unknown events, and I can help you solve these unknown events according to the remuneration you pay. At the same time, you have to provide me with a series of privileges. Make sure my life is not disturbed by anyone. Zhao Hongxia heard Lin Yi's request, thought for a while and said, I have received your request, I will go back and discuss it with the leaders. If they agree, I will contact you again. Lin Yi's face showed a faint smile. Very good, then I will leave first. Next time, you should be able to find me. He took a step forward, turned into a residual image, and disappeared without a trace. The fighters who were ambushing in Phoenix Mountain came out one by one. They stood behind Zhao Hongxia and looked at the direction where Lin Yi was going away. There was a trace of disbelief, shock, and dejection in their eyes. This kind of power is no longer something that ordinary weapons or humans can resist. Zhao Hongxia's voice sounded calmly, everyone, withdraw your troops. Don't let a word of what happened today leak out. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1177. The leaker will be treated as a traitor. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. At this time, the leader of this group of fighters, a very majestic man, seemed to be standing behind Zhao Hongxia. He said seriously, yes, I received the order. Everyone, follow me to retreat. A group of fighters quickly disappeared into the woods. Soon, several trucks quietly drove away at the foot of the mountain. No one knew that there were a group of fighters armed to the teeth inside. Zhao Hongxia took a deep breath, turned back to her car, started the car and disappeared on the road. Abnormal Event Investigation Bureau, Furong City Headquarters. Zhao Hongxia appeared in a conference room. Director Bai, Colonel Tai, and Director Zhang all appeared here. Zhao Hongxia looked at them calmly and said, everyone, you have seen the scene just now. Based on the power he showed, are you willing to agree to his proposal? Hongxia, what do you think of this person? Manager Bai looked at Zhao Hongxia and asked slowly. This person is very mysterious. I have investigated all his information. More than 2 months ago, he was just an ordinary worker, completely waiting to die. but from the night when the human skin grandmother appeared, he became different. I also reorganized the information about him in the past 2 months. He sold a lot of gold coins in 2 months. The source was unknown. It looked like gold made from ordinary coins, and then exchanged for hundreds of thousands of RMB. Then he used 100,000 to buy several stocks. In the next short month, he doubled the funds of the stocks to 10 million. This is a gap of almost 100 times, and it only took 2 months. The technical content here is quite amazing. This means that as long as he wants, he can even make hundreds of millions of dollars in a short period of time. This level of financial knowledge and financial ability is not something that ordinary people can achieve. Even the most powerful financial genius needs time to accumulate and find opportunities to gather so much money. And according to our investigation, his financial knowledge seems to have been learned from the internet 2 months ago. We retrieved his online records, and he mastered all the financial knowledge in 1 month. In the next month, he converted this financial knowledge into money. This ability has exceeded imagination. Zhao Hengxia's eyes showed a trace of amazement. From these points we can be sure of one thing. First, he has a strong learning ability. Second, he has mastered at least 3 God-given abilities. Third, he knows a lot of information that we don't know, which is very important. Fourth, he seems to be able to solve strange events, and they are all different kinds of strange events. Fifth, he is a God-given person who is willing to trade with us. From the above information we can draw a conclusion. An extremely smart, powerful, and compromised person, this means the basis for cooperation. Now we have to evaluate whether our Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau wants to cooperate deeply with him. At this time, Colonel Tai, Director Zhang, and Supervisor Bai all fell silent. Colonel Tai said slowly, "From my personal point of view, I hope to catch him. He must have a lot of secrets hidden in him. If we can master the secret, it means that unknown phenomena may be solved by us. Instead of relying on others. It is better to have it yourself than to let others have it, so that you will not be strangled by others." Director Zhang on the side smiled when he heard this. "Of course I think so, but the question is whether we can do it. You also saw the video today, that kind of means is incredible. Even if it is a God-given, I have never seen such a powerful guy. Only those God-givens in the legend can compete with him. And it's just a possibility, not a certainty. His level of danger can directly reach S level. Even if our Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau wants to solve this level of existence, it will cost an unimaginable price. It is even possible that it will lead to the complete destruction of a small country. This kind of existence can actually communicate, which is already a great luck for us. Once a conflict breaks out, no one can be sure of the outcome. So my suggestion is to agree to his conditions. Compared with his conditions and the contributions he can make, we definitely have a huge advantage." Director Zhang said very confidently, and at the same time there was a trace of deep fear in his heart. After seeing the power displayed by Lin Yi, he did not want to have a direct conflict with the other party. That would definitely not be an interesting thing. At this time, everyone's eyes fell on Director Bai. He is the manager of the entire Furong City Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau. In the end, all discussions will be decided by him. Considering his danger and the price to pay for dealing with him, temporarily accept his conditions, collect more information about him, and enter the observation program. In the initial contact, you, Zhao Hengxia, will be fully responsible. The next policy will be decided based on the degree of pleasure of our cooperation. Observe first, then make the final decision." The 3 people in the conference room nodded immediately after hearing this. "Yes, Supervisor." On the streets of Furong City, Lin Yi staggered on the street. Holding a skewer in his left hand and a bottle of Coke in his right hand, he tasted the food and drank the Fat House happy water while enjoying life leisurely. Suddenly, a black car stopped on the side of the road, and two men in black got out of the car and appeared in front of him. They looked at Lin Yi and said respectfully, "Mr. Lin Yi, Captain Zhao Hengxia wants to meet you to formally discuss cooperation. Is it convenient for you now?" Lin Yi nodded, so he said, "Convenient, where is she?" The two men in black nodded after hearing this, "Please follow us." Lin Yi got in the car. This time he sat in the back seat, and the two men in black sat in the front seat. He was respected. The car drove very fast, and arrived at the underground parking lot of a building in more than 10 minutes. Following the two men in black, they soon arrived at the top of the building. Walking out of the building, there was a huge empty flat outside. There was no furniture in the flat, only a flat solid wood floor, a white ceiling, and floor-to-ceiling windows around. There was a desk and several sofas in the center of the flat. The house of everything I created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1178. At this time, Zhao Hengxia was sitting behind her desk. Seeing Lin Yi entering the large flat, she stood up slightly. "Hello, Mr. Lin Yi, we meet again." Lin Yi nodded, walked over a few steps, looked at Zhao Hengxia, and sat directly on the sofa in front of him. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. Feeling the cool touch of the sofa, she frowned and said, "Is it a leather sofa?" "It's pretty good." Zhao Hengxia sat back in her seat and took out a document. "Mr. Lin Yi, since we are cooperating, let's each show our sincerity. Here is a contract with some detailed terms written in it, according to your requirements. You can take a look. If you agree, we will formally sign the contract." Lin Yi glanced at her and said, "This kind of thing is useless, right? If you really want to regret it, this is just a piece of waste paper." Zhao Hengxia nodded and said, "This is indeed a piece of waste paper. But even if it is waste paper, we still need to report your content and go through the process for approval. Procedural documents are still required, otherwise, we can't implement your requirements. Mobilizing resources also requires legitimacy." Lin Yi was stunned for a moment, and then he understood what was going on in an instant. Procedure? I haven't heard this word for a long time. Lin Yi showed an inexplicable smile on his face. Whether in the void, in the land of life, or in the strange land, there is no such procedural culture unique to the earth. For the existence of those places, everything is just a word, a thought. This procedural culture will only waste their time. Only then did he recall that this was not a world where power belonged to an individual, but a world where everyone gathered together. One of the biggest problems was that the allocation of resources had to follow the rules, which meant that its efficiency would never be as good as that of a world where power belonged to an individual. In a world where power belonged to an individual, all living beings revolved around the individual, and all living beings served the person at the top. In a world where everyone gathered together, no one person could be served by the entire world. The vast majority of lives had the ability to overthrow the ruler, so even if the ruler was unwilling, he had to allocate resources to the people below. Both had their pros and cons, but the latter was undoubtedly fairer to all living beings. Lin Yi casually flipped through the document. There were no problems or traps. It was a very ordinary contract. It was actually not binding on both parties. The ultimate core was mutual communication and win-win cooperation. They also knew that this kind of waste paper-like thing could not have any restrictions on Lin Yi. It was just a bond. With a big stroke of the pen, he signed his name on the document, and his eyes looked at Zhao Hengxia. "Then it's a pleasure to cooperate. I will open a coffee shop in the city center, and it will probably be open in a while. If you have any problems in the future, you can go there directly to find me." Zhao Hengxia nodded slightly, "Okay, if there is anything, we will find you." Lin Yi nodded, turned around and left the large flat. Zhao Hengxia looked at the contract documents in her hand and felt slightly relieved. Then the next step is the initial cooperation, and it is also a test to see if this person is really capable of solving unknown events. But you need to choose carefully. Time went by in a blink of an eye and it was the second day. Today, Lin Yi came to the store he bought early. Today, the decoration has been completely completed. Lin Yi stood in the store with a hint of joy on his face. The inside is a typical retro decoration, with wooden floors paving the entire floor, and the 6-meter height is also divided into 2 floors. The walls are also wooden skirtings, and there are dark diatom mud walls. The bar is also a pure wooden structure, and the various tables and chairs in the store are all arranged in medieval Western bars. This retro atmosphere is Lin Yi's favorite, which makes him feel like traveling through time and space. Floor 1 and 2 are all floor-to-ceiling windows, and you can clearly see the bustling streets outside. The person in charge of the decoration company stood by and looked at Lin Yi with a smile on his face. "Boss, the store has been fully decorated, you can check it out." Lin Yi's eyes casually swept over all the decorations of the store. All the materials are real, and there is no cutting corners. After he knocked 3 times, the person in charge also knew that he was not someone who was easy to fool. Lin Yi nodded slightly. "Okay, I will pay the balance to your company's account. You can go." The person in charge nodded quickly. "Boss, I'll take my leave first." As the person in charge left, the whole store became empty again, with only Lin Yi alone. He sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, and the seat was a soft sofa, which was very comfortable to sit on. Leaning lightly on the sofa, Lin Yi looked outside, and an idea flashed through his mind. "Next, we need to find a way to make Brandy appear in this world. Let him run the store. I can't handle it alone. Then, maybe we can try to create a body." This thought flashed through Lin Yi's mind. He already had an idea. One day passed in the blink of an eye, and Lin Yi ordered a model that completely simulated the human body structure. This model is detachable, and each human tissue is an independent structure. Lin Yi had complete information about the structure of the human body in his mind. He had long observed every structure of his body through the brilliance of the true life path. He planned to build a brand new body based on himself. At this time, the coffee shop was fully equipped with all kinds of furniture and appliances, and he also prepared a huge freezer. The cafe is not open yet and is closed. Lin Yi held a false heart in his hand, and saw the light from the source of his true life filling the air in an instant. Based on his knowledge of the heart, the composition of the model heart rapidly changed. In just 1 minute, a complete and real heart appeared in his hands. This heart is made up of countless cells, and the structure of the DNA directly selected his own. After the heart is formed, it is still a dead thing and has no feeling of life. The heart was sealed in a vacuum bag and placed directly in the freezer to freeze. He is not afraid that the water will puncture the heart cells after freezing, because at this time, every blood vessel and every cell fluid in the heart is completely filled with liquid oil. This kind of oil will not turn into ice crystals and puncture the cell membrane due to quick freezing, but will only remain in an ice-cold liquid state, which can well protect the integrity of the cells. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1179. In the next half month, Lin Yi would make some organs every day and then seal them in a freezer. The refrigerator he bought was very large, and the freezer was empty, enough to hold a person. In half a month, he finally made all the organs, and today, he would start to assemble these organs to make them into a real person. On the second floor of the cafe, the dining table was formed into a rectangular long table by him. He took out organs and human tissues from the refrigerator one by one. Then he quickly stuffed them into the body. Under the power of the true life source, the connection between organs was perfect and there would be no problems. It took about 10 minutes, and a completely cold body appeared in front of him. This body looked like brandy, and it exuded a temperature of more than 10 degrees below zero. At this time, what flowed in the body was cold grease, not blood. Reaching out his hand and gently placing it on the body, a piece of the true life source's brilliance flashed. All the inharmonious places in this body were modified and repaired under the power of the true life source, including the flowing grease, which turned into blood in an instant. Then, the temperature of this body also rose rapidly, and soon reached the level of normal temperature. At the same time, the power of true destiny and longevity appeared at the same time. A wonderful power of true destiny was injected into the body in front of him. The cells that were originally in a dead state moved in an instant, as if they were stimulated to move. The whole body, all the cells came alive, but this body was still in a coma, and there was no change in brain waves. At this time, this body is completely a human body. The heart is pounding, blood is surging in the body, all organs are full of vitality, and filled with surging vitality. At this time, Lin Yi's consciousness moved slightly, and he was enveloped by the power of boundless true destiny and perseverance. An illusory figure walked out of his body, which was Brandy's will. Brandy looked at Lin Yi and the body on the table, his eyes lit up slightly. "Manager, is this a new body?" Lin Yi nodded. "Yes, this body is your carrier in this world. Go in now." After saying that, he raised his hand and waved it, and Brandy was lying directly on the body, completely overlapping with the body. The power of the true destiny perseverance and the true destiny root was flashing rapidly, covering the entire body. Brandy's will seemed to have some kind of wonderful connection with this body. The body generated a magnetic field, which was quickly connected with Brandy's will. Then, the body trembled slightly, and Brandy suddenly opened his eyes. He sat up and looked down at his hands, with a hint of surprise on his face. "Boss, it worked." Lin Yi smiled slightly, then reached out and touched Brandy's brow. "This is a power system that can be cultivated in this world, but the peak is to condense the magnetic field and communicate with the external magnetic field. It is impossible to go further. Put on your clothes, and you will be responsible for the store from now on." As he said, he threw the clothes that had been prepared long ago to Brandy. Lin Yi turned and left, returned to the first floor, sat in front of the French window, and quietly recovered the consumption of spiritual waves. Soon Brandy came down from the second floor. He was wearing a black uniform, which matched his handsome face and looked very attractive. Lin Yi glanced at him and nodded slightly. "Not bad. The next step is to get you a formal identity. From today on, the store will be handed over to you to manage." Brandy had a happy face, patted his chest and said, "Boss, don't worry, leave everything to me." Lin Yi nodded slightly, and then took out a phone. This was given to him by Zhao Hongxia. If he needed anything, he could call her and she would handle it for him. He took out his mobile phone and dialed the number, and a cold female voice sounded on the other side. "Hello, Mr. Lin Yi. Miss Zhao, I have something I want to ask you for help." Zhao Hongxia on the other end of the phone paused for a moment, then said calmly, "What do you need us to do?" "I have someone here, and I want you to help him get a formal identity." "A person? A formal identity?" "Yes, he is my friend in a foreign country, but he has always been an illegal immigrant. I asked him to come back to help me run the coffee shop, and he needs a formal identity." Lin Yi said a few words casually, and Zhao Hongxia on the other end frowned slightly, then nodded and said, "Okay, I will arrange someone to solve this problem this afternoon." "Okay, thank you very much." After hanging up the phone, Lin Yi looked at Brandy and said, "Your identity should be solved this afternoon. By then, you have to prepare a complete set of electronic equipment." All future procurement operations will be handed over to you. Brandy nodded slightly, full of confidence. In the afternoon, someone soon came to the door, and came with a camera. About 10 minutes later, the person took a photo of Brandy, filled in some basic information and left. 10 minutes later, in a conference room at the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau in Furong City, Zhao Hengxia, Director Zhang, and Colonel Tai all appeared here. The latest news is that the mysterious Mr. Lin has found an assistant. After comparing the photos taken by our people, we found that this person is not from China. I immediately contacted branches around the world to compare the portraits, and concluded that this person does not belong to any country. This matter is very shocking, so I notified you immediately. Director Zhang looked serious. No information record? Could it be that he is an undocumented black household? After all, there are many such people. Zhao Hengxia shook her head slightly. Things are not that simple. You should know that the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau is very careful about any strange events. Vigilance. In order to monitor strange events, a worldwide population survey is of utmost importance. God-given you should all know this person. He has already collected data on all humans in the world, and every day he makes deletions and additions to the information based on the increase and decrease of the population in human society. It is impossible for anyone to exceed his data collection. The portrait database we compared is the database he built, so the probability of error is infinitely close to zero. If this person is not in his database, it means that this person is very likely not to belong to our world. He has a huge problem. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1180. The data cannot be falsified. At this point I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. And that person is at least 20 years old, anyone who has survived for 20 years. It is almost impossible that he has not appeared in any modern society's cameras, except for primitive indigenous tribes and poor areas without any electronic equipment. And most of these countries are concentrated in the Black Continent. But even the Black Continent has detailed population data in the Sky-Eye database. And this person doesn't look like he lives in a hard-working area. His behavior shows that he has received a good education, so we can make a judgment now. This person must not belong to the Earth. Since this Brandy does not belong to the Earth, it can be inferred that this mysterious Lin Yi may have been replaced. He is not the original Lin Yi. The original Lin Yi is dead. We are dealing with two unknown existences. Zhao Hengxia's eyes are very sharp, her face is very serious, and her whole body is filled with a serious reasoning temperament. When others heard her inference, their faces moved slightly. This is very likely, and once this result occurs, it means that in addition to the ghost story incident, there seems to be something in this world that they don't understand. Director Bai also fell into deep thought. Only the four of us know about this matter now, and no one else is allowed to ask. All the information of this Mr. Lin is included in the highest level of confidentiality regulations. At the same time, send the top psychological experts and behavioral experts to monitor the area where they are 24 hours a day. Infer and profile the behavioral logic of the two people, and make sure to understand their psychological structure. Conduct a final assessment every week to see if they will bring danger to humans. All command rights are in your hands. Director Bai looked at Zhao Hengxia. Zhao Hengxia's face became serious. Yes, Director. At this time, Lin Yi and Brandy naturally didn't know that the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau would figure out something so quickly. However, Lin Yi also knew that the other party would definitely suspect Brandy's identity and investigate. But he didn't expect the other party to react so quickly. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye, and Lan Landy had already obtained a new identity. He even had his own bank card, bought a mobile phone, and began to officially operate the entire store. purchasing various coffees, syrups, etc., and preparing the latest drinks to prepare for the next opening. Lin Yi has nothing to do every day, holding a computer in the store to check various information. He sorted out the most interesting strange events into files one by one, but he did not track these strange events directly. He was waiting for the Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau to find him. Such a big force naturally has the most perfect information channel, and borrowing their power. A deeper understanding of the strange phenomenon is the best way. After all, in this world, his power is also limited. Once the spiritual wave is exhausted, he will also be in danger of life. So caution is necessary. Time has come to the second day in a blink of an eye. Today is the day when the cafe officially opens. The brand of the cafe has also been decided, named Coffee Wanchaiwu. The retro signboard complements the decoration of the store. On the day of the opening, 2 flower baskets were placed at the door. Lin Yi sat bored in front of the French window, watching the constant flow of people passing by outside. Ring, ring, ring. The store opened at 9 o'clock in the morning, and after half an hour, there were finally customers. A couple came in. They were slightly surprised when they saw the decoration in the store. Because all the decorations in the store are very exquisite, just like they really came to the Middle Ages. All the items in the store are very exquisite, very similar to the Western witchcraft and magic world, such as the famous movie Harry Potter. The couple chose a seat and sat on the exquisite soft chair. Brandy walked towards them with a menu. The exquisite menu was also made at a huge cost. The couple picked up the menu and looked through it. Everything in it was very exquisite. The colors of the cups, drinks, and simple meals made the two of them salivate. Soon they ordered 2 different cups of coffee and 2 simple meals. The melodious classical music has sounded in the store, and the Wanchaiwu is filled with an elegant atmosphere. Brandy quickly made coffee and simple meals. In just 10 minutes, the couple's things were ready. All the tableware was very exquisite, placed in front of them, making the 2 people's eyes light up. They quickly took out their phones to take some photos. Brandy's craftsmanship can almost be called art. Even a simple sandwich was cut neatly without any difference. This knife skill is very impressive, making this simple meal very beautiful overall. The first order of business was successfully completed. The guests were very satisfied with Brandy and showed off their skills after a long time. Lin Yi was also very satisfied with today's good start, with a faint smile on his face. There were not many customers on the first day of opening, only 7 or 8, but each of them was very satisfied with the store's physical objects and decoration. Basically, they took photos or posted them to their friends' circle. In the future, their sharing will attract many people to visit the store. This is the effect of publicity, which can attract a large number of people. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the flow of people on the street has decreased a lot. Most people have gone home, even in the city center. Lin Yi has been sitting on the sofa watching dramas all day, lying leisurely. At this time, the phone rang. Lin Yi frowned slightly, picked up the phone and looked at it. It was Zhao Hengxia's call. "Hello, Miss Zhao, why are you interested in calling me so late?" Zhao Hengxia said calmly on the other side of the phone. "There is a strange incident. The location is in a city in the north of the United States. According to our assessment, the impact of this strange incident is not great, and it basically targets individuals or a small group of people. It is basically the same as the human skin grandma. According to our contract, we can pay a certain amount of compensation in exchange for your help in solving it. This strange incident is not too dangerous, so it is very suitable as our first cooperation." Hearing this, Lin Yi immediately became interested. A city in the north of the United States? That's a very far place. How can you manage it there? Zhao Hengxia said calmly, "The Abnormal Events Investigation Bureau is a global organization, and it has agreements with various countries, so it can be managed all over the world.